Now, this is quite a discovery. Fragments of a biblical scroll, along with other relics, have been found in desert caves.
The worship practices at the Jerusalem temple had become deeply corrupt, leaving little hope for change. In response, a group of devout Jews decided to separate from the mainstream and live a monastic life in the Judean desert. Through their study of the Old Testament scriptures, they became convinced that God's judgment on Jerusalem was near, and that a chosen one would soon come to restore Israel and purify its worship. To prepare for this, the Essenes, as they were called, retreated to the Qumran desert to await the return of their Messiah. This community, which began around the 3rd century BC, dedicated their lives to studying and copying sacred texts, as well as writing theological and sectarian works. Before we proceed, I'd like to kindly ask you to subscribe to the channel if you haven't already. Your support means a lot and helps us continue sharing more content. Thank you, and now, let's continue. As tensions between the Jews and Romans grew, the Essenes sought to protect their precious scrolls. They hid them in caves near the Dead Sea, hoping the scrolls would one day be retrieved and restored to Israel. In 70 AD, the Roman general Titus invaded Israel, destroyed Jerusalem, and leveled the temple. Around this time, the Qumran community was also overrun and occupied by Roman forces. Their scrolls, however, remained hidden for nearly 2,000 years. Then, in 1947, a Bedouin shepherd named Muhammad Ahmed el-Dib was searching for a lost goat and stumbled upon a small cave opening. Thinking the goat had fallen in, he tossed rocks into the cave. Instead of hearing a goat, he heard the sound of pottery breaking. Curious, he lowered himself into the cave and discovered sealed jars. He hoped they contained treasure, but instead, he found leather scrolls. Disappointed, he took 7 of the best scrolls and left the other fragments behind. After this initial discovery, archaeologists searched other nearby caves between 1952 and 1956, uncovering 10 more caves filled with thousands of ancient documents. Scrolls or fragments were found in all 11 caves, revealing one of the greatest treasures of ancient manuscripts, the Dead Sea Scrolls. Scholars were eager to determine whether the Dead Sea Scrolls contained the oldest known Old Testament manuscripts. To date the scrolls, they used 3 main methods: archaeology, paleography, the study of ancient writing styles, and carbon-14 dating. Each method is reliable, and when all 3 produce similar results, confidence in the accuracy of the dating increases. Archaeologists examined pottery, coins, graves, and clothing found at Khirbet Qumran, where the Essenes lived. Their findings suggested the scrolls dated from the 2nd century BC to the 1st century AD. Among the incredible discoveries made in 1947 with the Dead Sea Scrolls was the Scroll of Isaiah, found inside a clay jar and remarkably well preserved. This scroll dates back to the 2nd century BC and contains the entire Hebrew text of the prophet Isaiah in almost perfect condition. When scholars compared it with the oldest known manuscript of Isaiah at that time, from around 980 AD, they were amazed by how accurate it was. Thanks to the meticulous process of scribal transmission, where every letter and word was carefully counted, the scroll of Isaiah is nearly word for word identical to the modern Hebrew text we have today, with only a few minor spelling differences. Its discovery confirmed that the many prophecies found in the book of Isaiah, which Christians believe point to Jesus Christ, were written centuries before the events took place. For example, Isaiah chapter 53 verse 5 foretells, "But he was pierced for our transgressions, he was crushed for our iniquities. The punishment that brought us peace was on him, and by his wounds we are healed." In the New Testament, we see Jesus himself reading from the book of Isaiah. In Luke chapter 4, verse 16 to 21, it says, Jesus came to Nazareth, where he had been brought up. On the Sabbath, he entered the synagogue and stood up to read. The scroll of the prophet Isaiah was handed to him. He unrolled it and found the place where it is written, "The Spirit of the Lord is on me, because he has anointed me to proclaim good news to the poor. He has sent me to heal the brokenhearted, to proclaim freedom for the prisoners and recovery of sight for the blind, to set the oppressed free, and to proclaim the year of the Lord's favor." Then he rolled up the scroll, gave it back to the attendant, and sat down. The eyes of everyone in the synagogue were on him, and he said, "Today, this scripture is fulfilled in your hearing." The discovery of the scroll of Isaiah highlights the accuracy of ancient biblical texts and the prophetic nature of the scriptures concerning Jesus. The Dead Sea Scrolls reinforce key theological truths found in the Bible. For example, Psalm 22, as seen in the scrolls and the Masoretic text, vividly describes the suffering and crucifixion of Jesus Christ. The detailed portrayal of the Messiah's agony and eventual triumph affirms the truth of Jesus' sacrificial death and resurrection. The scrolls also deepen our understanding of the book of Daniel, a prophetic text often debated for its timing. Portions of Daniel found in the scrolls, dating back to the 2nd century BC, confirm that the book was written long before the events it predicts. This strongly supports the Bible's divine inspiration, as no human author could foresee future events with such accuracy. The Dead Sea Scrolls play a crucial role in demonstrating the Bible's accurate preservation over time. Renowned scholar Norman Geisler, author of several books on biblical inerrancy, explains that the scrolls provide the best external evidence for the reliability of the Masoretic text. The Masoretic text, which forms the basis of our modern Old Testament, was shown to have been faithfully preserved for nearly 1,000 years, from the 1st century to the 900s AD. Geisler's studies of the Isaiah scroll reveal that 95% of the text is identical, word for word, with the Masoretic version, despite the 1,000-year gap between them. This high level of similarity is remarkable, confirming the careful transmission of biblical texts through the centuries. So, is the Bible true? The Dead Sea Scrolls strongly support that it is. In 2 Timothy chapter 3, verse 16 to 17, the Apostle Paul writes, "All Scripture is given by inspiration of God, and is profitable for doctrine, for reproof, for correction, for instruction in righteousness, that the man of God may be complete, thoroughly equipped for every good work." While Moses and other human authors penned the words, God is considered the true author of Scripture. Some people suggest that believing in God's authorship of Scripture is simply a matter of faith. While faith is certainly important, there is also objective evidence supporting the accuracy of the biblical text. The incredible precision of these texts points to divine involvement, which is why the Dead Sea Scrolls are such a valuable discovery. Before we wrap up, I'd love to hear your thoughts. What do you think about the Dead Sea Scrolls, especially the book of Isaiah? Let me know in the comments below. Thanks so much for watching, and I'll see you next time.